Hello Glee, I'm Jacob Straubhaar, your great-grandfather. This is what I would like you to remember about me. I was born in Niederstocken, Switzerland, June 9 in 1838. My parents are Johanna Eggen and Peter Straubhaar II. My parents married in 1829 and they had 5 daughters and 4 sons. I was the 5th child born. When I was 9 years old, in 1847, I had to leave home to work to help my father support our family. Switzerland and much of Europe was experiencing a major famine crisis that had lasted for years. I sent my earned francs home to my father. After the famine eased, I returned home a young man. My great love for the beautiful Swiss Alps caused me to climb often to a favorite spot, where I burst into song. No place inspired me to sing as did Switzerland. I sang and yodeled beautifully. When I was 20, I enlisted in the Swiss army and trained to be a soldier. I was very proud to serve my country and have always had a deep love for Switzerland, with its beautiful sunsets and its bright stars. In 1863 I fell in love with Anna Elisabeth Strahm and we began our life together. A son, Gottfried Strahm, was born on March 10 in 1864. He died 1 year later on March 6. Elizabeth and I were married in Rieutiggen, Switzerland on November 22, 1867. My father died the next year on September 29 at the age of 64. Our home was made of hewn timbers, containing 4 large rooms and a carpenter room in which I kept my carpentry tools. The home was heated by a fireplace, where our children often sang songs and told amusing stories for entertainment while growing up. Grapevines covered the walls of the house. We could pick a ripe bunch of the delicious fruit from an open window. The yard was filled with fruit and beautiful flowers. From the backyard the majestic Swiss Alps looked down upon us. Our children often climbed the Alps' rugged slopes, gathering violets and wild roses. They would watch the goats and sheep graze and frolic. Often at the break of dawn the children would go outside to gather wild fruit, such as raspberries, blackberries, strawberries and dewberries. We had 2 milk goats, which were kept in a little cellar, at night, behind the house. One time a cloudburst caused the canal, above the house, to overflow its banks. The water ran into the cellar and drowned the goats. This caused a great sadness in our home. We had to buy bread from a bakery because we didn't have a baking oven. We bought rock candy on strings and gathered bags of hazelnuts. In winter we had lively parties sitting about the fireplace cracking the hazelnuts. Karl G. Mosser converted Uncle John Koons to Mormonism. John was married to my sister Magdalena, who brought the gospel message to our family. During the winter of 1883 we were all baptized. The ice was broken and we were secretly baptized in the icy water on a cold winter evening. The neighbors did not approve of our baptisms. We decided to emigrate to Zion in America. A company of saints was organized for the journey. I borrowed $200 from John Koons to emigrate. Our family left Switzerland, May 10, 1883. There were 9 in our family. The oldest child Magdalena was 14, Anna Elizabeth was 12, Rosina was 11, Mary, your grandmother, was 8, John Jacob was 6, Louise was 2, and Carolina was 1. I was 45 years old at the time. We traveled to New York, 3rd class, on the steamer Nevada, for 21 days. We all got very seasick. When we were able to eat, the whole company ate at one large table on the ship. We ate mainly stew, beans and potatoes. The rocking of the ship often spilled the food over the table. We brought 3 large wooden trunks, one for 2 spinning wheels. One was packed with food, the other was full of clothing. We brought shortbread to eat after we arrived in America. When we opened the packages, we found the bread moldy. The Nevada sank on its next voyage. We came by train to Wyoming and then by wagon to Montpelier, Idaho. The Bear River was dangerously high as we crossed by it wagon. We arrived June 1, 1883. The first winter after our arrival, we stayed with and worked for Uncle John Coons, to pay off our $200 immigration bill. I worked with the cattle on his ranch. The winter snow was deep. The following spring we moved into a little shack in Montpelier for $3 per month. It reminded me of a chicken coop. All I had was $8. I was a carpenter by trade and carried my tools in a bag on my back. I left home early in the morning to work and returned late at night. I was often paid with meat or chicken or not at all. Friends gave us odd pieces of furniture until I could make or buy better ones. Uncle Ole Peterson gave us an old cow. None of us could speak English very well. We spoke German at home. Anna shouldered a heavy burden. She cared for the children, cut hay, milked and cared for our goats. Was a great hardship for us. This was a test of faith and endurance, especially for Anna, as she had left all her relatives and friends in Switzerland, also her home and furniture. She came to Zion with her large family to face a life of hardship, for the sake of her belief in the gospel. Anna was always very cheerful. She had brown eyes and dark brown hair. She was a good mother, always gentle and kind. She was an excellent cook and housekeeper. She was sociable, friendly and always enjoyed visiting with a friend or neighbor. We moved about from place to place and gathered a few possessions, until I was able to build a little home in Geneva, Idaho. Our oldest daughters worked for their Uncle Pete Larson in Geneva, milking 22 cows, night and morning. A year after we moved to Geneva, in October of 1889, we took our family to the temple in Logan, Utah, in a covered wagon. We went through the temple to take out our endowments and be sealed to each other. It took us 2 days to reach Logan, a full week round trip. We all enjoyed the experience. Soon after we returned home from Logan, Maggie contracted typhoid fever. At the time of her illness, she was at the home of Albert Herman, preparing to become his second wife. Mary and Rosina went to take care of her, but she could not be restored to health. She died February 4, 1890. Maggie was 22 years old. Rosina also contracted the disease and was brought home in February. It was 2 months before she recovered. Louise, age 10, and Lena, age 9, were also stricken with typhoid fever. Louise died April 3, Lena died June 15. Anna and I lost 3 children in 1 year. I shed many tears as I gazed upon the American desert of sagebrush. I cried out in anguish for my beautiful Swiss homeland, and yet I felt the beauties of the gospel and freedoms and opportunities to live it were so much greater than my silent call to return to Switzerland. We moved back to Montpelier. In my heart I was thankful I had come to Zion. Anna and I had daily family prayer. I administered to the sick and was a ward teacher. At the time of my death, I was a high priest. In my blessing I was promised I would sit with Abraham, Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. I died of stomach cancer, on April 15, 1907 in Montpelier, Idaho at the age of 68. Thank you, Glee. Auf Wiedersehen.